Hello friends, my name is Darren Gertis and I do these daily updates on Ukraine. Thank you for being with me. Yesterday was an absolutely amazing day. Kherson was, or the north bank of the river, or above the river was taken, and the Ukrainians are rejoicing. But now they have to figure out what to do from here. So that's what we're going to be talking about here, is all about Kherson. So here we go. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is turn my attention to the British Ministry of Defense. The British said on November 11th, Russia's Ministry of Defense claimed their withdrawal from Kherson had been completed. The completion of the withdrawal came only 2 days after its announcement, so it is likely that the withdrawal process has already started taking place as early as 22 October. Kherson was the only regional capital city captured since February by the Russian forces, so withdrawal brings significant reputational damages. So yeah, so the Ukrainians are absolutely thrilled. The Russians are really licking their wounds now. That was very, very bad from the Russian perspective, but they had to. I mean, there was no way to go to try to hold that kind of ground. Here, the White House hails it as an extraordinary victory. The British Defense Minister, Ben Wallace, said it's a strategic failure. Let's look at that article. Russians' withdrawal from Kherson marks another strategic failure for them. In February, Russia failed to take any of its major objectives except Kherson. Now, with that also being surrendered, ordinary people of Russia must surely ask themselves, what was it all for? The Russian army has suffered a huge loss of life, and as a result of this illegal invasion will have only achieved international isolationism and humiliation. Ukraine will press on. I think there's no doubt that Ukraine will press on and will continue to press this fight. Now remember, again, here is the map. 5 days into it, they already held Kherson. And so that was the picture on the ground. So after being liberated after this long, it's really something. Okay, so here's the ISW's assessment. Ukrainian forces are completing the liberation of the western, that's the right bank of the Kherson Oblast, after the Russians retreated. Satellite imagery can corroborate statements by both the Ukrainians and the Russians that they have left, and that they have been blowing, the Russians as they're retreating have been blowing bridges all along the way. And so we see the bridges that are destroyed. And so that's what's gone on. Ukrainian troops made major territorial gains throughout Kherson Oblast on November 11th, and it was big. I don't know what the calculation was. I was looking for the square kilometers. If anybody knows that, I'd love to know just how big that area is that they just taken. Okay. Kyiv celebrates amid nervousness. Spirits remain high in Kyiv on Saturday, with many people traveling to Maidan Square during the day to celebrate. And at the same time, there's another article here that they're bracing for Russian retaliation. And so the reason is, I mean, after you see the Kerch or after you see the attack on Sevastopol, Russia just rains down rockets. So to like show them how furious they are. So they're braced for it. But I haven't seen major reports about that so far. Okay, Ukrainian officials. Now, think about it. You're Ukraine's government. What do you have to do to like bring this region back to life? They have to try to stabilize the region, right? Kyiv's latest extraordinary battlefield success and Moscow's strategic failure, that's a great way of explaining what's going on, is what's happening right now. Ukraine's military said it was putting stabilization measures in place to ensure safety. So they're making sure that people are sweeping for bombs, and they're trying to restore power and water and all those kinds of things. The national TV and radio broadcast have resumed. Now, I don't understand exactly how this works. Maybe somebody can explain this to me, because I know the radio is digital, but couldn't they get radio from other locales or be able to get, I mean, I know that the Russians try to shut it off as much as humanly possible, but I'm not exactly sure how that works. The people of Kherson themselves are already removing Russian symbols and any traces of the occupiers. And these guys are just pleased as punch that they're no longer living under this anymore. Every time we liberate a piece of our territory, however, they go on and say, when we enter a city liberated from the Russian army, we find torture rooms, mass graves, civilians tortured, murdered by the Russian army in the course of the occupation. And I have not seen the reports yet, but I'm sure they are forthcoming. It'll be just a matter of days. Broadcasting of the TV station has resumed. It was possible with the help of the Poles. The Polish colleagues have allowed some of their transmitters or something to work to get that back up and running. The Russians destroyed everything they could, including radio transmitters, as they left. This was my favorite headline of all of them. They ran away like goats. I'm not sure exactly what goats look like, but they ran away like goats. Vladimir Putin said Russia would be here forever. In the end, they left in 5 minutes and ran away like goats. One person here told the newspaper. Uh, the last moments of occupation were tinged with vindictiveness. On their way out, Russian troops blew up the village school, the nursery buildings where they had lived, and brought down the radio tower. So again, this is a buy their fruits, you'll know them kind of scenario. I mean, like, why you're just wreaking damage on civilians? That's not the same as going after the neo-Nazis that are in charge that you're supposed to be liberating these people from. She didn't do anything to you, so right? She's not the neo-Nazi, or is she? Like, just decide what it is, because you're doing two different things. Anyway, here's another bit of fun. Here's what goats running looks like. So that's running away like goats. Okay. Next, Zelensky. Zelensky's address yesterday was very jubilant as well. Today, we feel enthusiastic together. I don't know if we have at least one person who hasn't watched the video of our Kherson people greeting Ukrainian defenders. We will see many more such greetings. So I like how he goes right from a leadership perspective. I like how he goes from this victory lap that he's in right into, and next we're going to be doing this, and then we're going to be doing that. Before fleeing from Kherson, the occupiers destroyed all critical infrastructure, communication, water supply, heat, electricity. Russists everywhere have the same goal: mockery of the people as much as possible. But we will restore everything. Believe me, although it takes time for this, it is already clear to everyone the outcome will be ours, the Ukrainian one. And so, like, he's constantly looking onto the horizon, to the future, and just what a great leader. Okay, next. We're talking about destroying everything, including bridges. This was in The Guardian. This is the bridge at the Khova Dam being blown. I don't believe the dam is so damaged that it can't dam the water, but it's impassable, or it made it more difficult to pass, at least. So here we are. Boom. So that's what that looks like. So they're doing that and leaving that behind in their wake so that nobody could follow them. But I don't know that it flooded out the region. I just destroyed part of the dam, but not, catastrophic kind of damage. That's my understanding, at least at this point. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Okay, RT. Yesterday I talked about this, and I took them at their word, which is my mistake. I'm sorry. The ministry denied reports that military hardware was abandoned during the process. No loss of personnel, weapons, vehicles, or material of the Russian forces was allowed. Well, then imagine my surprise when I then looked at the Defense of Ukraine, the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, talking about how it will take at least a few weeks to unwrap all the generous gifts that Russian occupiers thoughtfully left for the Ukrainian army. So here are the gifts that they left behind. That looks like something to me. I mean, I'm no military expert, but that looks like something. That looks like a lot of something, if you ask me. All right, so that's the long and short of it. Don't believe RT, even if it's in print. I mean, look at that. They've left no personnel, weapons, or vehicles or material of the Russian forces was allowed to be left behind. So, all right, well, fool me once, shame on me, I guess. By the way, I did an estimate of how many losses there were. And if you have not seen that, please watch this video next, because it'll kind of help you understand how the Russians see it, how the Ukrainians see it, how the Americans and Brits see it, and you will have to decide for yourself what the reasonable estimate of Russian soldiers lost in this war is. Thanks for your time. Thanks for caring about Ukraine.